long list of ayat on inheritance laws. And inheritance laws in Islam are pretty intricate and precise and complex. And at the end of all of that, Allah says, by the way, Allah wants to lighten your burden. In other words, you do what you want, or you do what Allah wants. But if you do what Allah wants, your life will become easier. It will become lighter. But if you do what you want, your life will become harder. And you know what's crazy? People think in their head, if I do what Allah wants, life will be hard. And if I do what I want, life will be easy. That's why they do what they want. They don't want to do what Allah wants because they say, man, that's too hard. I mean, I'm Muslim, but I'm not Muslim. You know? Because that's hard. You know? Or have you ever heard the term, oh, are you a strict Muslim? Have you heard that term? In other words, people think if you observe Islam, that must mean you are strict or difficult, hardcore. I've heard hardcore Muslim. Right? Now, all of these terms, what do they imply? It seems to suggest whoever tries to follow Islam is putting themselves in difficulty. And whoever is not following Islam is putting themselves in ease. That's what it seems to apply. But Allah says, when I give you commands, one of the purposes of those commands is to make your burden lighter. Take the load off. When you obey me, your life will become easier. And when you disobey me, your life will become harder. You are only harming yourself by disobeying Allah. I'm only harming myself. I can't harm Allah. Even the Israelites, as obnoxious as they were, they couldn't wrong us, Allah says. They only used to wrong themselves. They were axing their own foot. They weren't hurting anybody else except their own selves. Now let me give you an example of this. I'm going to give you two very simple examples, one for the elders, one for the youth, okay? So I'll start with the elders, because I like picking on them. So you have two options for getting your daughter married. You have the option of doing a simple wedding in accordance with the beautiful sunnah of Allah's Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You can have the nikah performed in the masjid, give a simple meal, everybody's blessings are being sent upon the bride and the groom, and everything's being done in accordance with this beautiful tradition that was started by our Messenger himself, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because nikah itself, the marriage itself, is an act of worship, right? And nikah min sunnati, nikah is from my sunnah. So you can do that. Here's option B. You can rent a hall on your credit card, which you're going to make payments on for 2 years. And you can hire a DJ because your uncle's, your cousin's wedding had a DJ too. And how can you not have it? Of course, we have to show our face. And you have to have music blasting, no matter how shameless it is. And you have to have 18 different kinds of meals, even though people fill their plate like they're trying to compare their mountain to the mountain next to them. And they eat like 2 bites from that, and they're like, I'm done. And most of that food gets thrown away. You want to do that? You want to get into debt because you want to go all out because your friends, the other friends, their party was better. So you want to make sure yours competes with theirs, right? And so you put yourself in this financial difficulty, and the gathering itself is inappropriate. Nobody would look at that gathering and say, that is worship right there. Nobody will say that, even though nikah is an act of what? It's an act of worship. You have these two options in front of you, and when somebody says, why don't you do this a little bit more, Islamically? You mean strictly? Come on, marriage is a happy time. Why do you want me to be so strict? We're just trying to have a good time in the family. What do you think we're all, kafir? I think many of you have heard that before, right? And so you say this is going to make life easy, but does it make life easy really? Families are fighting with each other. Everybody's stressed out. The guy who's about to get married has lost more hair in one day than he did in the last 25 years. All because you're overdoing it. And there's no barakah in it. And people are angry at each other. And when the time to discuss, I've seen this with my own eyes. 2 minutes before the nikah contract, now they start talking about the mahar. Are you insane? And then there's about to be a fist fight is about to break out. Like, we're being swindled or whatever. And everybody's frowning. This craziness in exorbitant amounts of mahar. And then, subhanAllah, if you study the statistics of Muslims in this country and their marriages, 2/3 of them are failing within the first year. That's insane. You know how many divorces are happening? And the amount of money that was spent to perform one failed nikah was enough to get an entire village married. The entire village. to feed entire, starving nations, a single meal. And you do that, all of this, you say, no, because we want to be happy. But no, you yourself aren't happy. Look at your face during the wedding. And look at what you have to put up with. And the kinds of feuds you have to get into, and the financial troubles, and then the riba on top of that. But on the other hand, you have a simple nikah. Everything is done, there's no headaches. Everybody's happy. It's all, and the only one you had to fear was Allah. But you know why people do the harder kind? Because they don't fear Allah, but they fear. What's your uncle going to say? What's your aunt going to say? What are the neighbors going to say? So what if they say something? What, does that hurt you? Is that like cause cracks in the house foundation? Let them say what they say. You don't even know what you can do whatever you want. They still say really nasty things about you anyway. You should get that in your head. Okay? None of your family likes you. They all say really bad things about you. So if you're just worried about what they say, you should be suicidal already. Because they don't like you. Okay? And that's the other thing, this culture of open ghiba and stuff. But that was an example of the elders putting themselves in difficulty. Nobody else. They themselves putting themselves in difficulty. Here's an example of the youth. And I'll just come out and say it. I don't have to beat around the bush with this. A lot of our youth are dating. That's a reality. Young boys and girls in this community, in Dallas, I'm not talking about some other crazy, kafir land, over here. In our community, there are boys and girls that have relationships outside of marriage. Some just limited to texting each other or Facebooking each other or, sending an email once in a while about how beautiful you are, this or that. Some a little worse, some a lot worse. But they have these relationships. And when you tell them about the restrictions of Islam, they say, I don't want to be so hard on myself. I don't want to make my life difficult. What's the big deal anyway? And you know what the big deal is? What this does to you, just to give you some glimpse of what dating does to people. Now, I'm not talking about the permissibility and impermissibility. Like I said, I expect all of you I want to speak to you like you're adults. And I think you already know that's haram. I don't have to tell you that. You already know that. And you know Allah has revealed that already. So your conscience is dirty and you know it. There's no beating around that bush. But I do want to tell you some of its consequences. When someone gets married, then they take a responsibility for the other. Allah Azza wa Jal puts them in a responsibility position. And they have to take care of their financial needs, their emotional needs, their learning of the deen, their protection, everything. But when two people are dating, what do they have to take care of? What are their responsibilities?